It's 1 o'clock. Shall we get started?
Yeah.
Great. Why don't you get started with just your role and how you got involved in MNI?
Yeah. So thank you everyone for being here this afternoon. It's such a pleasure to be able to co-lead this webinar with Lori. We will be presenting the biggest marketing mistakes manufacturers make. I am connected to MNI through my friend Katie McDermott, the manufacturing hype girl. Some of you may know her. I was a supporter of MNI University when she launched it last year, and I'm excited to be a host, a webinar host this year that she brought it back, and excited to be here with Lori.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here as well. So real quick about Keystone Click, we are a strategic digital marketing agency. We help our clients build brand awareness and generate leads online. We do that by first by conducting research, and that research helps our clients to better understand their customer. And then we take all the data and the insights that we collect with that research and build a strategic plan and support the full implementation of that plan. And our target audience happens to be industrial manufacturers. So I've given versions of this presentation a handful of times, but Whitney definitely helped throw in some of the newer, more current things that we're seeing in the marketing space right now.
And also our new branding.
And our new branding, which is beautiful. All right.
Okay.
So we'll do quick introductions. We just started that a little bit, and we're going to talk about the B2B customer journey and why it's important to take a look at that. We've identified 10 of the biggest marketing mistakes, really focusing on what those mistakes are that we see, but more importantly, how can we fix them? And then we will open up the floor for questions afterwards.
All right, so let's start with some introductions. Lori?
Yep. So I am the CEO and founder of Keystone Click. As I mentioned, I have 2 podcasts that I host. The first is called Social Capital. I interview professionals globally on the topic of networking and marketing. The second is I'm a co-host of a broadcast for manufacturers where myself and 2 other broads talk broadly about manufacturing. I was on the board for the Better Business Bureau of Wisconsin for about 8 years. And I'm an instructor with Agency Management Institute, where I teach agency team members how to be better in their account service role. The picture that's on there is actually a picture of my dad, and a lot of people ask why manufacturing for me. Well, my dad was a tool and die maker, and I remember just growing up and visiting the shop that he was in and just seeing all the cool machines and just watching all the things that were made. And that's just one thing that I'm really passionate about is seeing how things are made and helping manufacturers do a better job telling their story.
Awesome. I love that picture too. It's so fun.
Thanks. Yep.
Okay, so a little bit about me. I am an account manager here at Keystone Click. I've been with Keystone since the end of May. My connection to manufacturing, I am a member of Women in Manufacturing Texas, and I am on the board of the Texas chapter. I am the marketing director, so I help out with our social media and local events in the Houston area. Prior to joining Keystone Click, I was at a family-owned manufacturing company for almost 9 years, working in marketing. So I have a lot of firsthand experience with some of these mistakes that we're going to be talking about. In addition, I love the USA Manufacturing Hour chat on Twitter or X. I've participated and been a past host. So if you are in manufacturing, don't even have to be marketing within manufacturing. That's a great chat to be a part of. And also the manufacturing marketing mastermind group, I would definitely recommend you check out. So as we go through our presentation today, please feel free to take a photo or a screenshot of whatever stands out to you. And we encourage you to share that on social media and tag us. We would love to know how the information is going to help you. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and we just really look forward to seeing what you guys share and what your big takeaways were.
Right. So the B2B customer journey, why is this important? I mean, we're all familiar with our own journey of buying products as consumers. There are some differences in the B2B space, but definitely important to take a look at. So we've kind of built this funnel from our perspective that you first start with awareness, then you move, and that's a really big picture. People know that you exist. Consideration is where people are in that deciding stage. You're doing some research around you versus someone else, or even trying to solve the problem on their own. And then they're at that action stage where ultimately they're making a decision. They want to move forward. And I think what's important about looking at our customer journey experience versus big picture is the action is in the middle part. And then the experience is the actual experience that you're providing that customer to the point that they're so proud and happy and satisfied that they become advocates for you. And so we want to make sure that you're nurturing that along the way.
Totally.
It's important to understand this journey because all stages are very important. And I think one of the biggest mistakes, one of the many mistakes, I should say, seeing as that's what we're tackling here, is that oftentimes I think B2B marketers are only looking at the front end of that customer journey and really filling the top of the funnel and trying to get to the sale. They're not thinking about the big picture, long-term relationship, because a lot of the B2B is about the long-term relationship.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And that really goes into this next stage where we talk about the stages of the B2B customer journey and really what the goals of each stage are. As Lori said, it's really easy to just kind of get stuck after action and think, okay, they purchased from me, that's it, I don't need to do anything else. But if we really want to increase those sales and build the relationship, we have to make sure that we are addressing each stage. So just a quick overview, go a little bit more in depth into each stage. Stage one is awareness, as Lori mentioned, where, you know, your prospects are just starting to become familiar with your brand, and with that, with your marketing, with your content, you want to capture their attention and start building that brand awareness so they even, you know to go and look for you, know that you are an option. As they move into the consideration stage, they are evaluating their options, seeking out those solutions to their pain points. So at this point, you really want to be nurturing those prospects and helping them evaluate your solution specifically. So giving them all the education. When they get to the action stage, that is when they are choosing to make a purchase or maybe sign up for a service. So this is obviously really exciting. We want to encourage them to take the action to complete your goal. So we want them to choose you. And here is where we often drop off if we're not careful, right? We want to think about the experience after the purchase and work on customer retention, building loyalty by providing exceptional customer experiences after the sale. And when we do that, our desired goal is to have a super enthusiastic customer base who will go out and promote your business to others. And, you know, we want them to become brand advocates for you.
All right, let's dive into our 10 biggest marketing mistakes that we see manufacturers making. Okay. So first mistake, the self-centered website. Okay, let's take a look at that here. What does this look like? A lot of what we're seeing manufacturing companies are doing, and it's not just manufacturing companies, a lot of clients we come across do this too, but they talk all about themselves. They're saying, this is what we do. Look at our really cool building. This is all of our machines. These are the specific machines that can do these certain skills. Let's go on to the next one. And they just say, here's a picture of our building. Look at our, the reality is no one really cares about you. What they care about is, can you solve the problem that they have? So let's go on to the next slide there. And we can talk about that. So these are the types of things that you want to look at when it comes to your website. And I like to call it the billboard test to some degree. And what I mean by that is, when you're driving down the freeway, you see a billboard, you have 7 seconds to capture someone's attention. And so you have that same type of time window when someone is first looking at your website. When someone's found your site through Google, or even if someone referred to you and they just went right to your URL, the first thing that they're asking is, can you solve the problem that I have? So that is the first thing that needs to be clearly communicated, that you understand the problem that they have. The second thing that they're looking for is some sort of trust or validation that you can actually do that. And that's where you want to showcase either here's some of the other companies, or here's some case studies, here's some maybe media exposure that we've gotten. And they want to understand the process that you are what's the experience going to be like working with you. And that's where that showing the process is just as important. And then one of the last things that I look at is it clear and obvious how I can take the next step to potentially working with you? And you'd be surprised how many websites we come across that are promoting their services, but they don't make it easy for someone to take that next step, or there's too many buttons and it's too confusing, so it's either, if you want people to request a quote, then have a big button that says request a quote. If you want them to schedule an appointment, then that's all the button should be. Fill out this form, whatever it is, but you want to keep it simple and make it really easy for that target customer to take the next step to working with you.
Yeah, clear call to action. It's really important.
So the next mistake is ignoring email, and we can go on to the next slide. Now, I know I personally have a love-hate relationship with email, but everyone does. The reality is that there's some major missed opportunities when building your email list or even nurturing. So when we talk about all those different stages of the customer journey, your email can be an extremely valuable tool to help nurture from one phase to the next, especially in that experience and advocacy side of the sales funnel. There's a huge opportunity to continue to upsell and educate and nurture. So one of the things that we do with our email marketing strategy is we actually have segmented lists. And I think this is a big missed opportunity. You're going to talk to your clients or your customers differently than you're talking to people that you're trying to win their business. So you want to make sure that you're adding even greater value to that current customer base as opposed to the ones that you're trying to win over. So segmenting and continuing to nurture is extremely beneficial. You want to go to the next slide? So one of the ways that you can do that, newsletters can be extremely effective. And one of the things that I think a lot of people have this missed opportunity or there's misconception with email is that it's just all about using it to get into someone's inbox. Well, yes, that is a valuable component, is to getting into someone's inbox. You control that and you own that list. So there's a couple of reasons that I'm a big fan of email marketing. One, you can upload your email list to social media channels. And what you can do with that then is it's going to collect all the demographic information of the email individuals associated with that email address. And you can say, hey, here's 5,000 people on my email list. Go find everyone in a 350-mile radius that has very similar demographics as these people on my email list and put these ads in front of them. So you're able to get in front of what's referred to as a lookalike audience, or other people that look like your current established audience. You can leverage email marketing by tying it into automation. I know we're going to talk on that a little bit further too, but streamlining that nurturing. So when you win a new book of business, a new customer, within your automation system, you can have a series of emails that already send and nurture that relationship and continue to wow them, as opposed to having any sort of buyer's remorse. You definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
The third mistake is ignoring your credibility. And I kind of lightly touched on this, but let's go on to the next slide here. So a lot of times, especially in the manufacturing space, when I go and tour a facility or talk to a client, I hear these amazing stories, but no one's actually telling them out loud and proud. They're only kind of sharing it on the one-to-one communication. When people are looking for any sort of solution to the specific challenge or problem that they're facing, credibility is an extremely important component. And so sharing your stories and your successes, whether it's on your site, in media publications, however you want to do that, can be extremely beneficial and add, it increases that trust factor and definitely helps with your overall credibility to potentially win that business over. So a lot of areas where you can toot your own horn, as we have listed on here, any awards that you've received, any accreditations. So if you're part of some organizations, as I mentioned, case studies, testimonials, any sort of media exposure from like a PR standpoint, industry publications, those can all be extremely beneficial. Now, typically, I would say best practice is kind of include some of those in the footer of your website. But when we look at like the email nurturing, that can be something that can be part of either the email footer, or that's good information to share as you approach that action stage and you want someone to take the next step to actually start working with you.
Totally.
The fourth mistake is the lack of distinction. Okay, so this is basically saying that everyone is saying the same thing, or the sea of sameness is another way to describe that. So there's a lot of like plastic injection molders out there. There's a lot of tool and die shops that do drilling and metal bending. So how do you differentiate yourself? You want to make sure that you're attracting the right type of customer, that right fit customer for you. So let's go on the next slide. Here's an example of a client that we worked with. In the top right corner, you can kind of see this was their old site. We manufacture high quality air hydraulic cylinders. All cylinders are made from the same high quality components, in use for over 40 years. We are located in Wisconsin, the heart of Midwest manufacturing. Okay, that is nothing exciting or sexy at all. It doesn't get me excited about even coming here. So if you go to the next slide, we have a formula that we use. We call it the XYZ statement. And it's basically, I'm going to say, sexifying that same message. But the objective here is to attract that right type of person or customer. So when we did this formula, if we do X, which is what is it that you do, for Y, who is it that you do it for, and then Z is that primary benefit that they receive from working with you. So knowing and understanding this client's business, we rewrote his differentiator statement. We build legacy pneumatics and innovative light sensor controls for forward-thinking disruptive companies so they can resolve and repeat integrative processes. Now, we put this signage on his trade show booth, and really large, and it attracted the right type of people to want to come talk to him, as opposed to that previous message. So this type of statement, it could be anywhere in your marketing. We're big advocates of putting it on your social media, any printed material, the homepage of your website, email signatures. You just want to make it really easy for people to read that and go, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I really like about the XYZ statement, the why, and being really clear on who it is you're trying to reach, because so many manufacturers think, well, anybody could be my customer. And yeah, that might be true. But if you are trying to reach everyone, you're really not going to end up reaching anyone.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I like using as many adjectives as possible here. And specifically in this example, what I liked about it is, if you are a forward-thinking disruptive company, then you're going to be like, oh, well, what are these guys doing? Like, if that's how you label yourself, it's going to draw you in right away to want to go talk to them.
Yeah, for sure.
Mistake number 5 is ignoring SEO. So SEO is an acronym for search engine optimization. You can go on to the next slide. And that's basically the process of making sure that when someone is typing something into Google related to the offering you provide, you're showing up at the top results. So, there's lots of different tactics around SEO, and a lot of people are thinking that, as long as my website shows up when I type it into Google, that's not the reality. You have to think about, how are people searching for the problem that they have? And oftentimes I see that everyone's focusing on the solution. So from an SEO perspective, they want to make sure they show up for the type of equipment that they have or where they're located. They're not focusing on the challenge that customer is facing. So if we go on to the next slide, one of the ways that you can do this is you think about, what are the questions that people are asking you at the different stages of the customer journey. So especially in the sales, awareness to, action and that type of phase. And even in the experience, the types of questions people are asking you directly, they're likely asking by typing them into the search engines or on different forums. So if you're able to answer those questions on your website in the form of a blog post or educational component, that's where it's going to be helpful for you to make sure they are actually showing up in the search engines. And one thing I want to point out, as we mentioned and are talking about SEO, is that AI, artificial intelligence, is going to start becoming more apparent when it comes to what's happening with SEO. So it's important that your brand name is directly aligned with that specific challenge that people are typing in, so that it's going to help you long-term, big picture with your search engine optimization efforts. The other mistake I find is a lot of manufacturers look at the keywords for their website as a whole, where the reality is it's only one page that shows up in the search engine results. So you should have a dedicated keyword or key phrase per page on your website, not focus on as a website as a whole, but more per page, because it's one page at a time that shows up in the results.
Can you give an example of tying your brand into keywords and like what that might look like?
Sure, just making sure that like your brand name is in this proximity of those target phrases on the same page. And that's where the testimonials and case studies can be extremely beneficial. You know, if someone says, oh, I love the website design that Keystone Click built for us, it's helped increase our digital marketing efforts. Like those are keywords with our brand name all tied in.
Yeah, I really like the point that you made about just about knowing the language your audience uses, because you know, if someone is just in the awareness phase, right, they're not going to know your company or know your brand, so they won't know to search for your company name. They're going to be asking those questions in Google, and so that's why SEO is so important. It's for those like early funnel, early customer journey folks who don't even know about
well, and they don't know what the solution is yet. That's the big mistake, is that a lot of manufacturing companies are saying these are the things I can do from a solution standpoint, but they're not thinking about the problem. And most people start their search journey with, this is a problem I have, how do I solve this problem? And that's where you have to stay in an educational mindset and help first say, I understand the problem you have. Here's proof that we've solved this problem before, and this is the way that we went about solving this problem. And here's an example of who we've done it for. So that's where it's really important and beneficial to understand the customer journey, understand how they're using Google and the search engines to ask questions to help solve their problems.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about mistake number 6, not integrating traditional and digital marketing. So when you're not integrating these two types of marketing, you are dividing and definitely not conquering, right? So traditional marketing would be things like brochures, data sheets, catalogs. I know a lot of manufacturers are still pretty heavy on the print marketing. You can think about going to events like trade shows, print ads, and maybe even sending direct mail. So one of the reasons why manufacturers really like traditional marketing is, you know, there's some credibility that comes along with that. You get maybe some bigger exposure through large events. You print off, you know, 100 brochures, and those have a little bit longer of a shelf life. You know, you can pass those out and reuse them. And then when it comes to digital marketing, that's things like your website, blog posts, social media, maybe doing some online paid ads, email campaigns. Digital marketing is great because it's much more measurable than traditional marketing, right? And having the ability to measure enables you to better understand your audience. And when you understand your audience better, you can also incorporate personalization into ads, into your email campaigns, and that will, you know, reach your audience in a stronger way. Also, digital marketing tends to have a lower cost. You're not having to pay for printing. If you think about trade shows, if you manufacture really big equipment and you want to take that to a show for demo purposes, that is really expensive in terms of freight and, you know, manpower, having to send that across the country and prepare it for shipping back. It's also pretty easy to access, right? So pretty much everybody has a smartphone anymore. We have that in our pocket with us all the time. So you've got easy access. You get a broader reach in that sense as well. Think about how many millions of people are on social media, and you know, because it's there all the time, your website, your social media, it's there for you 24/7, 365. You have more time to grow those channels compared to, you know, a trade show that's maybe 2 days, maybe a week, where you're really bound by time there. So to fix that, you don't have to get rid of traditional marketing, but you want to use your digital marketing to support your traditional marketing. So that will give you even greater reach. And that can help you increase your sales, increase your profit. You'll improve customer satisfaction. And when you bring those two efforts together, you can build more consistent messaging, and then that will improve your brand recognition and also SEO. So you can do that by including QR codes on your printed materials. So maybe you have a data sheet for a product and you have a QR code that if they scan that, it will go to that product page on your website. You can use online sign-up forms to capture those leads, maybe at a trade show, and then when you follow up, you can send them printed material. You can advertise whatever in-person events you have online. That's something that I've seen a lot in manufacturing. You attend trade shows, but nobody even knows you're going. So you start ahead of time, advertising your presence, drumming up some excitement, and starting to entice people to come to your booth at the show. And then when you're there, that is a great opportunity to be on your social media channels, sharing what you're doing, creating some more buzz around your presence there, and then even sharing after the fact. And yeah, like I mentioned, it's a great way to create some content, and I just want to make sure that you are taking advantage of all of the channels that you have. Mistake number 7 would be ignoring free online resources. So you definitely want to make sure that you're taking advantage of the first impressions that you get online. And this is a way for you to sort of manage your reputation. So if you are not out there creating profiles through Google Business or industry directories, maybe you're a member of Chamber of Commerce. If you're not out there managing your profiles, either you won't be findable in those directories, or perhaps someone will go on and create it for you and the information might not be correct. So that's not going to reflect very well on you. Improving your brand reputation will increase trust that customers have in you, and that's just going to help build your brand. Another thing that I've seen is not responding to online reviews, positive or negative. So on Google or Indeed, Glassdoor, if you have current or former employees leaving a review, you want to make sure that you are responding to those in some way, acknowledging that you've seen them. So here is Keystone Clicks, Google Business. So we, especially during COVID, right, it's really important to stay on top of those free tools and make sure that all of your information is correct in your direct listings. For Google Business, you want to make sure your business hours are correct. You can add the services that you offer. What I think is really neat about Google Business is that you can even create posts and offers and have campaigns to get reviews that are on there. This is such a strong presence for your company. It'll show up there, right, on Google if someone's searching for you. So don't you want that to be a strong first impression? And also, as you grow your social media, you'll see your social profiles will show up there. So that's something else that can contribute to SEO, is having a strong social media presence, which we'll talk about a little bit. All right, mistake number 8, ignoring providing value and education. I know a few people who call this the wee-wee syndrome. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this before, but it's when you really focus on yourself, like we saw earlier in the presentation when Lori was showing us the older websites where it's, here's our facility, check out our equipment. You're focusing on yourself, the company, and the products. And when you're looking at product pages and other areas of your website, you just see we everywhere. And it's not all about you, right? You want to make sure that you are not just talking to yourself, because when you're doing that, you are ignoring your audience, and your focus should really be on your audience and solving their pain points. So to fix that, you want to shift from focusing on yourself to focusing on education. So as Lori mentioned before, think about what problems do you solve and for whom. That goes back to the XYZ statement as well. So being really clear on your audience and how you can help them, and then making sure that the content of your website is answering those questions that they're going to Google to find the answers to. And when you are developing content around those questions, that is how you can build trust and you're demonstrating why your audience should choose you. Case studies, testimonials, blog posts are really great for that. This is also where online reviews are super helpful. So going back to the previous mistake and ignoring those free online resources, this is a good reason why you should be proactively managing. So checking what reviews are out there, responding to them, and then going back to some of those brand advocates that you have and asking them, hey, will you write a review for us? That'll help establish some trust and credibility. Mistake number 9, dismissing social media as a fad. So social media is something I'm really passionate about, and this is something that I have definitely seen across the spectrum of manufacturers. So either manufacturers are posting and ghosting, or they're just kind of not there at all. So if you're ignoring social media, it's not going to go away, right? It's 2023. Social media has been around since the early 2000s, and I just think it's pretty clear based on the numbers of accounts on the different platforms that it's not going anywhere. Individual channels might, but social media as a whole is not going to. So some manufacturers might say, okay, well, we'll create a profile, maybe as a placeholder, but then they never do anything with it. Or they set up a profile and they'll post, Happy New Year, Happy 4th of July, Merry Christmas. And that's about it. Or, we've seen some new social channels come out. Threads was pretty popular earlier in the summer. So they might hop on a channel because it's the new thing, it's the hot thing, but they haven't looked to see, is this even where we should be? Is this where our audience is? So it takes a lot more consideration than just creating an account for it to be successful. So to fix that, embrace social media, be where your audience is. So this is where digital marketing really comes in handy. If you have all that data, you have greater insight into your audience. And so which channels they're on, which channels they're not on, and that'll help you make better use of your time. You want to post on a consistent basis. So that doesn't necessarily mean every day. Are you able to post once a month consistently? Do that. If you can post once a week consistently, do that. The consistency is really the key here. And also, think about what other assets you have. What message are you trying to give? What's your XYZ statement? You want that to align across all of your channels. And, you're going to be hitting people at different stages of the customer journey. So you want to make sure that you are adding value with your content. And also, it's not just people who are buying your products or services. If you're hiring, you also want to think about, who would you like to apply to work at your company, and what would they be interested in as an audience? And it's always important to make sure that your profile is optimized. So whatever fields are on there on your profile, make sure that you fill out each part and update it regularly so your information is consistent.
I want to add to that a little bit. One of for some reason, an unknown fear or a fear that people have around this is that you always have to be creating new content from scratch. The reality is the majority of the type of content you should be creating is what I like to refer to as timeless content, or has a really long shelf life. So for example, we have a blog post on our site that was written 8 years ago, and it's still very relevant, and it still drives a lot of traffic to our site, and we can still post about it on social media. And also, most of these social media channels, it's only about like 3 to 5% of your audience that is actually seeing that one post. So there's no rule that says you can only post something once and that's it. We like to reuse a lot of the content, especially if it's high value and it serves a lot of it's timeless. It's going to have a long shelf life. So you can easily craft content and build like a month plan, and then reuse that month plan every couple of months. And then you're saving yourself time and being efficient when you're creating more timeless content as opposed to time sensitive content, which would be more like a product announcement or a trade show announcement type stuff.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Definitely important to think about how you can reuse content and then also repurposing, right? So if you
Mhm.
have, like you mentioned, the blog post that is high performing, how can you use that for an email campaign? How can you use that in social media? So that way you're not just investing all this time and effort into one piece of content. You're still investing that time, but then it's going to live on and be effective for you for a longer period of time and across different channels. That's a great point. All right. And the last mistake we want to talk about today is not investing in marketing automation. So if you are not investing in automation, you're probably stuck reinventing the wheel, where you have labor and time intensive tasks and you're just doing those over and over again when there is probably a tool that you could be using to automate that and free up your time to be doing something perhaps of greater value. When you are doing things so repetitively yourself, you increase the chances that you're going to be missing something, right? And so you're increasing the opportunity for human error. And if you maybe don't have a streamlined process, there's a good chance that if different people are doing those tasks, they're going to be recreating processes. So you're kind of just letting a whole bunch of time and effort go out the window. So to fix that, we encourage you to embrace automation. So identify those repetitive tasks. A lot of those come from sales, marketing, and communication, and then lean into some of those automation tools, lean into artificial intelligence to streamline the processes and really take away the time and effort that was required to do those manually. And then that will free up your staff to do more important things. So for sales, if you automate, maybe someone puts in a request on the website, a quote request, you could automate a response, set up a workflow with a trigger. So that way the customer is getting a fast response and feeling like they are being paid attention to. And that gives your sales team more time to quote whatever it is that they're looking for and get the information that they need to really work on building the relationship with that person to keep the process going. Is there anything else you want to add about automation, Lori?
There's so much that you can do with AI and automation nowadays. And I mean, you talked about a couple of examples, but really it's just figuring out what am I doing that's repetitive? And if, taking the front end time, which is going to be a little bit of time investment initially, but in the long run, it's going to save you a ton of time so that it's going to give you more opportunity to tackle some of those bigger projects that you want to do, or do more like face-to-face type meetings and creating stronger bonds with your customers from an in-person approach, as opposed to being stuck behind emails and whatnot. So if there's any repetitive opportunities, there's more likely than not a way to automate that somehow.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about chat bots and things like that on a website to help maybe with some of that initial communication?
Oh yeah, there's definitely opportunity to lean into chatbots, and I've seen, and we're playing with this a little bit too, of tying in artificial intelligence to manage that chat communication, where you're really giving some specific instruction to the AI to drive them to that call to action, or help nurture through that customer journey, whether it's answering questions or guiding them to a resource or blog that's on your site, or even scheduling an appointment. I think there's a lot of opportunity to create efficiencies leaning into AI and automation.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like when it comes to manufacturing, if you're in production, you're really interested in creating efficiencies, right? But that often gets overlooked, I think, in the office side of things. So that's a really great point. All right. We have any questions that we can answer? You could drop them in the chat, raise your hand.
Unmute yourself, either or.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. Really appreciated the opportunity to share and to co-present with you, Whitney. This was fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. If you would like, you can scan our QR code and sign up, and we can send you a copy of today's slides for future reference, and hopefully so you can implement some of these changes to fix some of these mistakes. I'll leave that up for a second so you can scan or enter the URL if you like. The presentation will also be up on our YouTube channel and shared through MNI University in the coming weeks. So this will still be there if you need it. And also feel free just to reach out to us on social media or by email. We're happy to help you. We love working with manufacturers and we're here if you need us. All right. Ask for questions one more time in case anyone thought of anything. And if not, then we can end a little bit early and you can have a little bit more time back in your day, maybe in your lunch break. You can enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Right. Thank you, guys. It was so nice to have you. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.